Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome everybody to our first monthly discussion. We also welcome the new member of our Maqasid Institute Economic and Finance Services Group, member of this services group. So tonight, Indonesian time tonight, we are going to discuss about one published paper. Our speaker is here, Dr. Ibrahim Adeeb, Ibrahim Al-Chalabi. He got his PhD from Mosul-University and his lecture at the same university in Mosul-University, Faculty Management and Economics. Alhamdulillah. The speaker will share about his paper with the title Zakat Foundation and Mechanism for Financing and Development. So the speaker will share about around 30 and 40 minutes. After that, we are going to have discussion. Our discussion is here, Dr. Zaid Barzinji. He got PhD from PhD Economics from the University of Utah and also Executive Director of Maqasid Institute. So before we start our discussion tonight, I will welcome Dr. Zaid to welcome our new member here so that can share the purpose of this research group and also our forum, the monthly forum. Please, Dr. Zaid, the platform is yours.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Thank you, Sister Lisa, for this nice introduction. May Allah bless you. And would like to welcome all the panelists, especially our dear presenter today, Dr. Ibrahim. And Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy to have everybody else here today. I know it is not the most convenient time for some people around the world, especially in Malaysia and Indonesia, where probably half of those who are attending here from there. But I really like to really appreciate making the effort to be here today. And inshallah, we try our best to see if we can accommodate a better timing for our dear brothers and sisters in Malaysia and Indonesia. So here, Alhamdulillah, would like to make few comments here quickly because we have, Alhamdulillah, a very busy program today, and we want to really make sure that we leave the most time to discussion and to open conversation, inshallah. So here would like to quickly go and share with you why are we doing this and what is, if there's anything different and what we're doing here. So this is the Maqasid Institute, and obviously from the name we care about the Maqasid al-Sharia approach towards tajdeed and islah. Tajdeed at the level of ideas, and islah at the level of action and practical implementation of these ideas. So we have that vision in our mind that we have now a methodology for conducting Maqasid study. So and this is what we call the Mi Macarthur Methodology, and it has the 7 elements framework, which is So we have that, and now we want to move from this high level of thinking and a high level of theorizing into the next level, which is, well, how can we apply this Maqasid methodology in real research? And then so we can produce new ideas and new thoughts, and that are really genuine, and that would make a difference. And can these ideas make an impact in real life? And Alhamdulillah, we have some of you here are researchers, and some of you here are actually trying to translate ideas into reality, like what you are doing, Dr. Lisa, with your WaCIDS Foundation. And of course, our dear brother Mustafa here, Tatkun is, I don't if until now you were with the Red Crescent Society of in Turkey. And you had really a major role there, and even had major involvement previous to that in real working in the front line. So the question is, can we actually provide any meaningful organizational strategies to people who are working on the ground? And can we actually Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, translate these organizational strategies into actual programs that can be implemented into standards, into best practice, so on and so forth. So under Maqasid Institute, we say we have Maqasid Research Network. So this is the research network that has, alhamdulillah, close to 1,000 members. Obviously, out of these 1,000 members, we have a core group of who are active researchers who are really interested, who can be about 200 to 300 people. Out of that, those who want to actually do research work in this area, we wanted to, for that subgroup of people, we wanted to have what we call research groups. This year and next year, we are focusing on very few key areas in research. So we have research group in education and climate and sustainability and public policy, and we have in AI, artificial intelligence, and we have this economics and finance research group. So this is one of the key areas that we want to contribute in. So we formed this group, and the way we are working here is that to advocate for new thinking in the area of economics and finance. It is at the moment disciplinary, but we also try to be transdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, as mashallah, like brother Ildus is very good at, alhamdulillah, bring in the multidisciplinarity dimension to Maqasid, to our economic and finance focused research, so we can have a more richer and a more realistic view into the islah that we want to bring about. But our main focus is economics and finance in this group. And then in this group, we have a core group where we call that this is, they do the management, they help coordinate everything here. So Sister Lisa is the manager of this group. Sister Lonnie is a part of the team that manages the group, as well as myself, and Brother Ildus is also in here, and Brother Ibrahim. So those who want to contribute at the level of organization, they can join the management group of this research group. Then we have the wider circle is the research group members those who actually want to conduct research in this area, or make a presentation, or attend the discussions and contribute to the discussions. So this is the larger circle. Supposedly, as of now, we have approximately 100 members who are interested in economics and finance. But this, so we will have to see how best to reach to all of them, and inshallah over time. Now, some of the major points that I wanted to share with you about what would make this group different, is that, well, we will strive to apply the Maqasid methodology and the 7-element framework in what we do, right? And the 7 elements can actually translate not only in terms like, so what these element typically involves heavy research of the Quran and Sunnah, and the cycles of tadabbur, of reading and contemplating the Quran Kareem and reflecting on the question or the goal, that the objective that we want to achieve. However, I would also like you to think about this element as even without as very useful analytical tool to think about any project we conduct in life, or any endeavor. So here it's simply like, what is the objective? Why are you trying to do what you're trying to do? Or like, what is the end result? What is how success looks to you? And then if that what are the concepts involved? I mean, if we're talking manufacturing, we're talking about sustainability, are we talking about what are the energy efficiency? Are we talking productivity? Do you understand how do you define the key concepts that will govern or that influence what you're trying to do in this? So understand what is your core beliefs. So here in the concepts and mafahim, it's really what do you believe in. Values is how would you judge, simply how do you judge outcomes, what is beautiful, what is ugly, what is good, what is bad, what are our scale, what our benchmark, and then how do we get to understand, or like what evidence that you accept, and what information do we use, and the process, universal laws and sunan. Here again, what are the forces operating and where you're working, or where this project is taking place. Orders, ahkam, of course, that is, there is the law, there is the law of the land. We all need to know about what are the laws, including that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and parties and groups, who are the stakeholders. So this can actually, it is not only something that is might be seen as it is only dealing with Quran al-Karim and Sunnah Nabawiyya, but I want you to see how useful this framework in helping us to think deeply about any issue. Now, when it comes to economics specifically, I have these pointers. I don't want to say that these pointers are something that Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, that make or break. We are evolving as a group. So as we evolve, I would love for us to think in terms of systems. As what are the elements needed to produce an outcome? And of course, I want us to all to think in terms of objectives. What is the ultimate result that we want to achieve? That's Maqasid. And then the next thing is think systems and think interactions. How people work with each other, how companies interact with each other, how basically, generally speaking, interaction between stakeholders, as well as interaction with the natural world, with Allah's creations, with Al-Alamin. How is the interaction taking place? Yeah, and then we have the incentives. What are the incentive system? Why are we incented to take a course of action, or not do it, or not do a course of action? And this is critical for economists, because this is, in my understanding, in economics, we don't just simply rush to declare this is halal, this is haram, or we need to pass a law. Well, if you're just saying you need to pass a law, then that is not really, I mean, that's very easy way out. Most of the time, you need to be creative in how you address challenges and problems by creating an incentive system that encourage people to do the right thing. Let's say we say al-amru bil ma'ruf, turn al-amru bil ma'ruf into an institution that makes abiding by al-ma'ruf easy, and turn nahi anil munkar into an institution that helps people to avoid haram. So now, and then clearly state assumption. That is one of the critical thing, that when we talk, let's be clear about our assumptions. Assumptions is part of what economists do. You cannot avoid it, but it is, and the issue is not to ignore it, but to clearly state it, so that we know what are the assumptions that you're operating from. Towards the end here, intentional objectives, we have Islah practicality. I mean, we need to put this in our mind all the time. How is this work going to actually impact Islah, bring Islah about in the world? And the application partnership, part of what I would love for us here to do is that we connect our ideas into possibilities for applying them and seeing them alive into organizational strategy, and then second step after that into either pilot test or small scale trials, or maybe full scale adoption of ideas. So this is not, I know this conversation is not only academic. This conversation is also about Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, making a difference in the world. Bi'awnihi ta'ala. How do we do that? Well, we try to find if we have partners in this field, in this area, who want to contribute, and if there are such people, then or want to influence or want solution, then we work with them. Bi'awnihi ta'ala. They can be takaful institutions, waqf institutions, zakah institutions, halal bank institutions, so on and so forth. With this, I would say these are kind of general remarks on what this group is all about, why we want to be here, and we're still in the formation stages. We need to spend a lot of time, and this is what this monthly forum came about to, said we need to harmonize our ideas and thoughts and agree on our approach. So maybe in the long run, if Allah has been good to us, we come up with what we call possibly the Maqasid School of Economics. And this is our highlight. This is how we understand everything. This is how we perceive the field of economics and the analytical field in economics, and this is how it can be used and applied. This is the reasoning. This is the methodological tools that we apply. This is فبعونه تعالى. That's the ultimate vision. بعونه تعالى. Jazakumullah khair, everybody, for your good listening, and sorry for taking time from my dear brother and Dr. Ibrahim, and inshallah he'll will come on next. Jazakumullah khair.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, Dr. Zaid, for the sharing. So thank you for giving the share to us about the vision, very visionary research group. So I personally very grateful to have opportunity to join this research group. So Alhamdulillah for this opportunity. So we are moving to our second agenda. We are going to hear to have hear the presentation from Dr. Ibrahim regarding to his research paper with the title Al-Zakah Foundation and the New Mechanism for Financing and Development. Dr. Ibrahim has slide. He will share to us. Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. So you have around 30 to 40 minutes. So the time is yours. Please, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Maqasid Institute for allowing me to discuss my paper entitled Al-Zakah Foundation and the New Mechanism for Financing and Development. The common idea about Al-Zakah is that Al-Zakah is a means to help the poor and the people in need. And this is the direct effect of Al-Zakah in reducing poverty. But the indirect effect is more important. From an economic view, we know that the best way to reduce poverty is by increasing productive assets and creating more jobs. The question of this paper is how this can be achieved through Al-Zakah. This can be done through 4 objectives. The first objective is giving the due imposed on wealth and income. God says, وَالَّذِينَ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ, and those within whose wealth is a known right. Al-Zakah relates to wealth and income more than relates to persons, though hence most of the jurisprudence decreed that obligation of Al-Zakah on wealth and income of an adult or insane persons. Also, Al-Zakah's base and its percentage vary according to the form of the wealth. So as person can reduce the amount of Al-Zakah that they due to give by changing the form of their wealth, like buying real estate instead of saving cash assets. The second objective is money circulating and reducing hoarding. Al-Quran rejected hoarding money and considered it bad behavior. Al-Quran also calls for expanding the money trading circle to include the poor and all other people in need. Al-Zakah achieves these two objectives by deducting 2.5% from hoarding money annually. And this deducting incentivizes persons to transfer their cash assets to other ones unsubjected to Al-Zakah, like real estate or other productive assets. The third objective is eliminating poverty and meeting the needs. We cannot eliminate poverty without creating sustainable sources of income for the poor and people in need. Al-Zakah can help to do that by incentivizing people to invest their wealth in productive activities in order to generate income and compensate the amount of Al-Zakah. This investing activities will generate more productive assets and more jobs and more sustainable source for income. The fourth objective is economic development through directing resources towards creating productive assets. Quran confirms the zakah of income. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا من طيبات ما كسبتم. Spend from the good of your earth. And income usually is generated by productive assets like agricultural lands and factories. But if the assets are unproductive and do not generate income, like cash assets or trade goods, Al-Zakah will be imposed on the capital itself. And this will lead to lose the capital over time. This will encourage owners of wealth to change their assets to productive ones. And thus, Al-Zakah will enhance economic development by changing the assets from unproductive ones to productive ones. This is the four objectives of Al-Zakah or Maqasid Al-Zakah. Now, let us talking about the Al-Zakah Foundation or ZF and the learning progress. Okay. Before talking about Al-Zakah, we should know that talking about Al-Zakah Foundation, we should know that the Islamic strategy to reduce poverty is based on three pillars, which are interest obligation, interest forbidding, Al-Zakah obligation, and good loans encouraging. Al-Zakah Foundation is an idea based on these three pillars. It provides an incentive to lend money other than interest, obligate persons to pay the zakat of their income as a preceding condition for lending them, and encourages people to lend their money to each other instead of hoarding it. In this paper, we will adopt the opinion of Malikian doctrine, where the zakat deducted after paying the loan by 2.5% for one time, whatever the period of borrowing was. In this figure, this figure shows the mechanism of ZF working. As we see, at first the depositor lend ZF their money. Then ZF lend money to the borrowers for a specific time. After the borrowers pay off their debts, ZF pay off its debt to the depositors and lend them money after deducting the zakah, according to Malikian doctrine, due on their previous deposits. This is the mechanism of Al-Zakah Foundation working. I think it's clear. Okay. How the Al-Zakah Foundation or ZF affect on the behavior of persons, of zakah payers? To analyze the behavior of Al-Zakah payers, we need to put some assumptions related to economic system. These assumptions are Al-Zakah obligation, interest forbidding, the existence of Al-Zakah Foundation, and the mechanism of loaning for borrowing explained earlier. Okay. Under these assumptions, the individual endeavors to meet his basic needs and reach economic sufficiency level. Then he will work on raising his living standard through saving to get a productive asset that generates future benefits, like buy a home, a house, a real estate, or productive assets. The future benefits generated by the productive assets can be viewed as an incentive to save. What incentivizes an individual to lend his saving to the ZF is reducing the required period to buy an asset by getting a loan from ZF after recovering his money and paying the zakat due on them. To simplify the idea, it can be assumed that ZF can give borrowers loans in the same way that they lent it in terms of the value, the period, and the payment arrangements. To explain how individual behaves under the mechanism of loaning for borrowing, we can assume that some persons earn $10,000 per year as a surplus income over his basic needs, and he wants to buy an apartment for $100,000. Of course, he needs 10 years to provide this amount. But if he put $10,000 per year in ZF, he can save $50,000 after 5 years and borrow $50,000 from ZF. In this case, he can buy the apartment in 5 years instead of 10 years. If we denoted the required amount to be saved with A, the annual savings with small s, and the required period for saving with T, we can calculate T, the period required to get the loan, by dividing A on S. In our example, if a person lent all his surplus income to ZF, T will be 5 years, as shown in equation 1A. Okay, or T equal $50,000 divided on $10 equal 5 years, when S equal Y. All surplus income will be saved. But when individuals save only 1,000, the period required to get the loan will be 50 years, when S equal 0.1 multiplied by income. Between 5 to 50 years, there are unlimited choices that can be done. Of course, in the equation 2, we calculate the required time after imposing Al-Zakah, after paying Al-Zakah, by multiplying 50,000 by 1.025. The period will be 5 years, 125. Okay. And if the person saved only 1,000, the required period to get the loan will be 51.25 years. This table shows the relationship between the annual saving and the required period to get the loan, T. When the annual saving $10,000, the required period will be 5.125. When annual saving $7,000, the period will be about 7 years, and so on. And the curve show the relationship between the annual savings and period of saving. When annual saving were high, the period of saving will be short, and so on. Of course, as the person gets the apartment earlier, he would get more returns from the apartment over his lifetime. And we can calculate the expected return of the assets by multiplying the annual expected returns of the assets bought by the loan by the number of years of using the assets, like equation 3. The number of years of using the assets, we can calculate it by assuming the maximum expected age. We can assume that the maximum expected age of any person do not exist 100 years. So the number of years of using the asset is the maximum expected age minus the age of the person who wants to save and the required period to get the loan. this example, we can use this example to simplify the idea. If we assume that the person age of is 25 years and the maximum expected age is 100, and the annual rent of the apartment is $6,000. If the person lends all of his surplus income to ZF, he can get the loan after 5 years, 125. And he will use these assets through 69.87 years. As if his age is 100 years, as the maximum expected age. The returns of these loans is 6,000 multiplied by 69.87 minus 50,000, which is the loan. He must pay back the loan to the ZF. So the return will be equal 369,250. Okay. This table shows the relationship between the annual savings and the maximum returns. When the individuals save all of his surplus income, 10,000, the maximum returns will be 369,250. When he saved 6,000, the maximum return will be 348,750, and so on. And this curve shows the relationship between the annual saving and the maximum return. Okay. We okay. This was maybe unreal because there is some consideration related to behavioral of individuals. There is some consideration determined and individual decisions. This consideration is the individual cannot save his whole income, no matter what expected future reliance may be. Once individual gives up unit of his income, the next unit will be more important. The future consumption unit are not guaranteed because even if the return were certain, the individuals being alive to consume this returns is not certain. And the importance of a future consumption become less whenever the time needed to get it is more. We can simplify the idea if we assume some equation relates to the behavioral behavior of the individual. The possibility of dispensing with the annual saving, G. We can calculate it by remaining the proportion of income after subtracting saving ratio of income. Like equation 5, G equal 1 minus S on Y, minus S divided on Y. The probability of obtaining the return is the period of getting the returns N, divided by the maximum expected life, capital N. B equal N divided on capital N. Now we can calculate the utility of saving by multiplying the return of loan by possibility of dispensing with the annual savings, G, and by probability of obtaining the return of B, minus A, the value of loan. Table 3 show the relationship between saving and saving utility. We assume that the loan is 50,000 and the maximum expected age equal 1,000. In this column S, there is the annual savings decreases from 10,000 to $1,000. TZ is the required period to get the loan. It increases whenever the annual saving decreases from 5 years to 51 years. N is the number of years of using the assets. It decreases as the annual saving decreases from 69 or 70,000 to 23,000. And R is the return of the loans or returns of the savings after buying the apartment. Also, it decreases as annual saving decreases. P, the probability of obtaining the returns. It's also depending on the TZ. It decreases as annual saving decreases. And G is the possibility of dispensing with the annual saving. It increases as whenever the annual saving decreases, because a person maybe could not dispense all of his income. So he cannot save all his income. So dispense with $10,000 is zero, because no one can save all his income. According to equation 7, we can calculate the utility by multiplying R by P by G minus A. When individual save 10,000 all of his income, the product of multiplying will be 0 minus $50,000. The product is minus $50,000. The utility will be minus $50,000. When the person saves $10,000 of his income, the product of multiplying R by P by G will be positive, but less than the $50,000. So the product, the utility will be negative, will be negative. When a person saved $8,000, the product of multiplying R by P by G will be positive and more than $50,000. So the utility will be positive. The utility will increase until the $370 will be 92,280. This is the maximum point of the utility. After this point, after this levels of savings, utility of saving began to decreases. Figure 4 show the relationship between saving utility and annual saving. We show that the curve will increase until the maximum point where the level of income is 370 and then decreases. The figure 5 show the marginal utility of savings. When the marginal utility of savings equals 0, the utility of saving will be at the maximum point. The relationship between marginal utility and utility. We can get the maximum point of saving utility from the equalize the first derivative of this utility to 0 and solve for S by using Excel solver maybe. The question now, the following question is, when the individual abstains from saving, the answer of course is when the maximum utility of saving does not exist 0, because surplus income is low, and so the individual should wait for a long time to provide the required amount to get an asset that helps him to improve his income. That makes the saving invisible for him. We can consider anyone like this as poor or in need person or miskin. And we can call the incomes level at which the maximum utility of saving equals 0 al-maskana line, needy line, simulating the poverty line. Table 4 shows the relationship between saving and saving utility at maskana line. We show in this table that the maximum utility of saving is nearly 0.17, because the level of income is about 2,900. When the level of income is like this, this person cannot save, because he need to wait a long time to get the amount needed for buying assets. To prove the role of Al-Zakah Foundation in reducing poverty, we can calculate the maskana line with absence of Al-Zakah Foundation. According to previous example, when there is no Al-Zakah Foundation, the level of maskana line of the income level of maskana line will be 5,665. This means in the absence of ZF, many people who were able to save to improve their standard of living will lose this ability and will lose and will be in need after they were being zakat payer. Also, we can show the effect of imposing the zakah on loans every year according to the Islamic doctrines other than Malikian through table 6 or table 7. We show in this table that al-maskana line, the level of income at al-maskana line will be about 4,000 when imposing al-zakah every year. Al-maskana line will be 4,000. This means imposing al-zakah on loan yearly will increase poverty, not decrease it. This is the most important idea of my paper. The conclusion of my paper is that zakah is not merely worship or a means for helping the poor or people in need, but it is a system for enhancing economic development by incentivizing individuals to invest their wealth instead of hoarding it. It's possible to collect the zakah by using economic incentives. It is possible helping many people in need by developing a cooperation foundation that enables them access to loans by lending their savings to each other. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair, dear brother Ibrahim. Thank you for this presentation. I do see we move on, and before I make my remarks, I do see Sister Lonnie's hand raised. I would love for her to please go ahead and raise any point you like or discussion item. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Zaid. First, I apologize for my mistake in understanding your very first Ibrahim. I want to ask first, how does Zakah Foundation get money from people? Does it collect them as Zakah or borrow them as loan? The second, if the answer is the latter, how do we argue about Zakah mean in fiqh literature? I mean, Muslims understand Zakah as a gift for the needy, not as a debt. That is my question, sir. Thank you.
I think I had that personally had there was like some whooshing sound when you were speaking, sister. So that was one factor that did not make it easy for me to understand the question clearly. We can try, if you can break them into one question at a time and then answer one and then answer the other. And then let's try that one more time if you don't mind. And if you can raise your voice, that'll be good too.
Okay, sir. The first question, how does Zakah Foundation get money from people?
Okay.
Does it collect them as Zakah or borrow them as a loan?
Okay, good. So the first one, Ibrahim, did you get the question?
I don't understand it because
how does the Zakat Foundation get the money? First of all, how does it get the money?
The Zakat, the depositor any person want to get a loan in the future must save or must lend his money to the Zakat Foundation for the period. The same period, he can get the loan for the same period. So the Zakat Foundation, firstly, we will take the money from any person want to get loan in the future. And this, the Zakat Foundation will collect the surplus income from the people. Is it clear?
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then we'll lend it to the other who want to lend money.
So this is the nice thing, that there is an incentive here. So people want to get loans. So that's one reason. They will just, as well as so it's like it's a cooperative loan, or like Qard Hasan cooperative in a sense, all right. And then the second question, Sister Lonnie.
According to the answer, I understand that it is about a loan. How do we argue about zakah mean in Fiqh literature? I mean, we all understand that zakah is a gift to the needy, not the debt.
Okay, so I know the end you said zakat is a gift to the needy, but then the first part of your question was what? How do we understand? Can you explain that a bit more, if you don't mind? State your question again, please, if you don't mind. The second question.
I understand from the paper that Zakah Foundation get the money from the people,
correct,
then lend it to another people.
Oh, no, not
Am I
necessarily.
correct?
Well, and so this is a good thing to clarify, Akhi Ibrahim. So the question here, is this foundation using zakah money to loan out in the loans, or how is it using the zakah money?
Not using the zakah. It is lend the surplus income of people who deposit their saving in the foundation and lend it to other. And when the borrowers pay their debts to the Zakat Foundation, the Zakat Foundation will pay the debts to the depositors and lend them money.
No. So yeah,
It is each people, the people lend their money to each other through the Zakat Foundation.
Yeah.
But some in the beginning, other in the end, and the other time.
No. Okay. Good. This is a good question, because Sister Lonnie, I'll make some comments on this. So please, we are just like really this our small group, alhamdulillah, here, so feel free to jump in anytime. But I would love at this point to share just a few comments about this presentation, mashallah, and of course, jazakallah khair. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, dear Dr. Ibrahim, for this presentation. So it did take me a good amount of time yesterday to go through it, and part of it is the math is not really particularly as hard, but you just sometimes haven't done it for a while, and then whenever there is an equation, you want to carefully think about it. So that was but it was a very stimulating kind of practice. So let me hear contributions of the paper that I found very useful here is that you start with the objectives. Like, we have an institution called Zakah, Even from the meaning of the word, it's really all about, it's not just simply, don't think of it as simply as charity, as something that money just goes out. Rather think of it as, this is zakah, this is the growth factor. So it is important, because when, just like this is what I said, like, understand the concepts that we are dealing with. So defining the concept properly help the brain think differently about the problem or the challenge at hand, or try to aspire. So this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has instructed us to practice, because it will bring prosperity to everybody, or welfare to everybody, and overall welfare in the society will increase. أولئك المضعفون, so like this مضعفون are not necessarily people who are going to have lots of reward in the hereafter, but I take the Quran Kareem meanings, always it covers the affairs of this dunya and the hereafter. So mud'ifun in this life and in the hereafter, and mud'ifun not only for themselves. Here mud'ifun is like the doublers, or the people, or the compounders, let's say, because in Jahiliyyah was muda'afa, was like, basically you come at the end of the term of your loan. If you're not ready, you said, okay, we wait, the loan doubles up, and you have another year, or hawl, or something like that. So that's why it's muda'afa, then mud'ifun here. So it's good to have that opening introduction here. You are examining the current ahkam, or and here madhabi and fiqh and juridical opinion, and we can see that there is sometimes these opinions in the fiqh that are really try to consider that this, when you lend money out, then you're actually doing good with it, so you perhaps don't need to pay zakah on it on a yearly basis, because that clearly eats up the principal amount that is being loaned out, and that might be done out of, maybe the person who's loaning the money is okay with it, and because all fi sabilillah, but maybe for some people this is a disincentive to loan money out. So why not provide some benefit in this process? And in this case, it is, just when you take the money out, you pay zakah on the last year, and by then probably that's the largest sum of money you had. Also, I want to take the money out as in when the money is no longer in a qard hasan relationship, then you pay zakah on it at that point. So this is good to know the fiqh and the ahkam as the Maqasid methodology requires. And then we have, I love that you are presenting an institutional solution. So we are not thinking only in terms of individuals, but how, as we build institutions, and that will be that forms that pours into what we call systems thinking, and then how these systemic thinking or systems thinking and institutional thinking can produce outcome, which is what at-ta'awun al-birri wat-taqwa, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also asked us. So I love that you're doing that. I do have so zakat and a qard hasan conceptual model. I do see it really more of this is principally a qard hasan cooperative, and then zakat plays an important role, but it looks to me that the major driver of the khair, or like the good that is being developed, is not necessarily the zakah. Zakah plays a role, but it's not everything. And maybe zakah is one factor that makes the whole system work. And so in that sense, maybe it plays a critical role, but it is part of a system. So and here, this is a beautiful thing that, can we think of zakah, qard hasan, and then we add into it takaful, add to it waqf. How do all these different institutions work together and create a system that support each other? All right, and then we can have better outcome, inshallah. I love that you are that the paper uses an incentive analysis. Okay, you can pay zakah only 1 year. Or well, you can, but if you kept it at home, you have to pay zakah on it every day, every year. And then there is that issue of, well, if you bring your money here and keep it for 5 years, then perhaps you can and then you can borrow for the same lengths, and you double the amount, or like you borrow as much as you have lent. So there is a reciprocity, there is kind of a fairness in the approach, and you get an interest-free loan that is a Sharia compliant loan. So this is very nice and very important to deal with how Muslims think, and to deal with the incentive patterns that might help incentivize Muslims by appealing to their personal benefit, as well as appealing to what we value, as this is khair and fi sabilillah, and you're going to help others as well as others will help you. And that, I don't think there is anything wrong with that. It'll be just interesting to test it in reality and see if that messaging actually works, and how much of an incentive there for people to when you talk to them in these terms. Because I mean, generally speaking, I know people are incentivized by saying that, well, this is ethical investment fund, this is environmentally responsible fund, this is so on and so forth. So this is good. Mathematical modeling with benchmark. I love that you are using mathematical modeling, and maybe I am biased towards this because my work involved always mathematical modeling, and the important thing about mathematical model is not that, well, it looks sophisticated or looks but it really helps the brain think and face the problem honestly, and you not hide behind generalities. So once you provide an equation, then suddenly I have something I can take apart, I can critique, I can improve on, I can change the function, so on and so forth at the end. So it's very, very useful. And I really love how in the modeling, because you use the factors that lead weighing factors. So you have the probability of, if you save too much, then probably you'll never be able to really achieve your goal because that is not realistic for you. But if you save too little, and then your time horizon is too long, so there is that beautiful wasat and medium that is best of the world, and then and you found it like approximately at the 1/3 of the income, which is very interesting because it coincides with like at least in the United States, we say that the ratio of income to the monthly income to the loan payment should be about, or the loan payment should be about 1/3 of the monthly income as a benchmark, as a rule of thumb. And you arrived at through your analysis. It was really nice to have that. And I saw how you had these factors of weighing, and that's why you have the curvature, and then you can have intersection, and you have maximization of utility. Of course, the use of the utility, the concept of utility can be controversial, and it is something that I would love to for us to have a conversation specifically about where value comes from. So in the capitalist system or the neoclassical economics, the value comes from utility. In a Marxist economic system, the value comes from labor value. So there's a labor theory of value, and there's utility theory of value. So what is Islam's theory of value? it is not clear what is Islam's theory of value, and this is something we'd love to, inshallah, make it a topic of discussion bi'awnihi ta'ala, because these are one of these foundational ideas. My best thought on the topic as of now, maybe we don't have a theory of value, but we have objectives. We have something that we want to achieve. So why think within the box that they provide us? Let's think. It's number one thing is that we are moved by the objectives that we want to achieve. Introduction of the new useful concept, like and I love the play on the word, is that miskeen, the poor, the humble. It's not poor, like it's faqir. Miskin, the one in a humbled state, or in inert state, not active. Somebody who's not really being able to realize their potential. To maskana, then that leads to a state where you are almost there, that you are like you just need a nudge to be helped, and then you can have a house, maybe have something really great, have a business, and then you can be active and you can be productive in the community. And if you link that to maskan, which is home in Arabic, and then how providing a home can really produce a lot of psychological effect. In America, we call it the home pride factor. So if you own your home, you care about how it looks, you care about the yard, you care about, it just really, you care about, because this is your property, versus if you're just renting, you don't really care much about your rental property. I love that you have acknowledged some of the simplification required to make this work, and this is also extremely important in economic analysis, because it comes from mathematical modeling usually, or modeling in general. Let's say, if you don't have to be all that to provide all the equation, but just when you start building, you have to declare your assumptions clearly. And then that is and if the assumption there are simplification, that is fine, that is totally acceptable, but most of the time the problem is that people do not acknowledge the simplifications used, and that makes the and how and it's hard to assess if this is too excessive or too or not acceptable. Recommendation here is, again, touching on the assumptions. Yes, there are a lot of things here that the assumptions, are they realistic or not. Again, this is debatable issue, and we can discuss them. And then and that's just the nature of the of this and some of the concept that was used. I think that the concept of productivity that was used can be further kind of refined, or like because I try to go back and look at how it is used elsewhere, and then there are like 5 factors of productivity here. 5 drivers, for example, and productivity is investment, innovation, skills, enterprise, and competition. We understand the concept. We understand the concept properly, because if we want for the prosperity that your paper discusses, is not just simply an issue of loaning the money out or giving money out, because it can go to some usages, and this is maybe part of the simplification that we said. But then the issue is, can this operation lead to higher level of investment, innovation, skills, enterprise, and competition, so on and so forth. And my perception, and that's why it's an easy thing to address, is to say that yes, if you introduce more entrepreneurs into the society, if you empower people to have their own businesses, and then that by its own nature will push expertise, innovations, and competition, and so on and so forth. And then we will have this zakat in the economy, zakat economy, or zakat growth. So that just was one of the things that I wanted to mention. There are some details here, so we go to one of the recommendations I want to jump to work out a hypothetical business model with more business consideration. So we start actually thinking about the process, because here we have a skeleton thinking model. Can we move on into a bit more like, let's see the dynamic? How does this work in a dynamic setting? People at different time, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, come in different batches or in and out of the system, and how does that affect it, to get into a more. The macro analysis deserves its own paper. I think what was termed as macro analysis is more of scaling up the operation and aggregating, and which is by itself is a good thing. Is because scaling up, like when you said, okay, what if we have 31 borrowers, and suddenly now you start thinking at a different level. So now it will be good to work out that example and see what happens. So like people wait, or what happens, in the intermediate time. But the impact on employment and productivity, economic growth, money supply, all of that requires more careful analysis and requires to work out some of the details. And you don't need to jump. I mean, that's actually one of the things about, what I learned from my professor is that like micro and macroeconomics are two different fields of analysis, and they're not exactly so it's a big challenge if you want to link the micro analysis with the macro analysis. That can be actually a big theoretical challenge to do. So I actually try to do that in some of my research. So this becomes what we call Maqasid action network. And can we put our ideas into work, into more into action? So you have a nice model, a good foundation. Well, what prevents us from doing it, from applying it, and seeing it? Is it already in use? Well, let's see how it worked. If it's not in use, well, why it's not, and why is there? It doesn't make sense from a business point of view. Why it doesn't make sense from a business point of view? So this part, it doesn't need to be just simply people talking about it from a Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, from a theoretical approach or like a point of view, but we might have practitioners who are trying to actually implement some of these ideas. I know even like Brother Zaki, who was a member of another research group. He's not fully active with us at the moment. I know he got distracted because he was trying to basically kind of have a fintech application. And this is so just the bottom line is, can we actually have an application here? Can we find people to try to apply this model into practice? Let me stop here and get your other conversation going on, and then تفضلوا.
Thank you, Dr. Zaid, for the comments. So, Dr. Idrus raised the hand. Yes, please.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.
First of all, thank you very much. Interesting ideas, and good to take part in this conversation today. I'm not really feeling well today, but Alhamdulillah, I think it was worth waiting and actually listening to Dr. Ibrahim and to Dr. Zaid. Now, with regards to Zakah Foundation, in Southeast Asia, the idea of a Zakat organization is more of a collection and distribution kind of organization. And it's not like a bank or something, or it's not like a deposit organization. So I understand the question of Sister Loni there. What is the, how do you look at this zakat? I mean, how do you collect this as a zakat or as deposit? Or what? So there is, I think, a little bit of unclear how can a Zakah foundation from this Southeast Asian perspective, how to understand the Zakat foundation. Is it a bank, or is it how to understand it? Okay, and
Okay.
because in Malaysia, I mean, this has been the Zakat organizations have been in operation for many years, and I think they're quite effective, and it is part of it's an institution basically, and the Zakat has been collected by through organization, through the people's salaries, even monthly salaries. You can have a monthly deduction, and it is not something that you can that you forgo. I mean, you're not expecting to get it back. So this is the general understanding in the Southeast Asian context, and so maybe the clarification of this part would be really interesting, because we would need to seek clarification on that. So what is the position of this of these depositors? Are they zakat payers or are they depositors really? And how is it connected with their payment of zakat? This is number one, and then there's another point I will raise more.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I understand your question. The Zakat Foundation is like a bank because it's a medium between people who has a surplus income and the other who want to borrow money. This function is like banks, and the Zakat Foundation can obligate the person to pay the zakat of his income, because it is a preceding condition to give him a money, to lend him a money. The Zakat Foundation uses the incentives for collecting the zakat from any person want to get a loan. Okay, it is like banks and like Zakat institution. It is combined between these two functions.
Okay.
And because the zakat and good loans, the two is pillars of the Islamic strategy to produce poverty. The zakat alone could not reducing poverty. Maybe prevent expanding poverty, but it does not, or it cannot reduce poverty. The good loans can be used for reducing poverty. So this foundation combined between zakat, collecting zakat, and giving or encouraging good loans.
One more question.
Yes, okay.
Okay, what is the is there anything specific that inspired you to come up with this? Is it something that you read, you found something, or you just you think that it is? I mean, it's your own like your own idea. What inspired you to come up with this?
It's my idea only.
Okay, then
Okay.
I will let you know that something like this has already been in existence since 1930s.
Yes.
And it works. It's a working bank, and until today. And this system actually, it's a non-interest kind of members bank, and it has been in operation it is in operation in Sweden, and
Yes.
the bank is called Jack Bank,
Yes.
which is the land, labor, and capital bank. Okay, so that's they are having a similar kind of the process. So you can become a member of that bank, and it is a cooperative members bank, and you can save there, but you can also get a loan, but you have to save for a number of maybe months or for some time. You have to save for some time, and then you can be eligible to get a loan. And this is interest-free bank.
Yes.
And it's quite interesting. And there are detailed studies on how this thing works actually. And Muslims do use this bank extensively. And you know, I think it's a good model to work. To use, and it has been replicated in other countries in Europe, in Italy, in France, in Germany. So it's a working system.
Yes.
Inshallah. That's
Good,
also, it's
good.
good if we can introduce it also in Muslim countries. And then and here, like the way I was thinking about zakat as is a critical factor. Is that because like one of the things that, well, how do you cover your operational cost? For example, well, if you're a zakah foundation, then al-amiluna alayha.
Yes, yes, yes.
There's always this issue of like, well, it costs to run this operation. So taking this money, the zakat can cover that cost, as well as, there is default rates. What if somebody fail? I mean, all this like issue with failure to pay your loan. I mean, this is a fact of life. In in large numbers of borrowers, you'll find people who either abuse the system or genuinely get into a problem and they cannot. Typically, that's about 1% to less than 5%. I mean, and yes, and in real estate, you have a collateral, so it's a bit easier, as you can possess the house back. Now, this is a huge issue from an Islamic point of view, and that's why if we call it as zakah and Islamic terminology, then you cannot just simply go out and you cannot call yourself an Islamic bank and you go out and repossess the house of somebody who is in need, who is already down on and facing a problem, and they need every help, and then you just don't call yourself Islamic. Call yourself halal, call yourself whatever it is you want to call yourself, but don't call yourself Islamic, because Islamic requires a whole different way of conducting yourself and business and so on and so forth. Imagine like how a masjid is run and its purpose and how it deals with people versus you cannot, it's not a membership based, it's open to everybody. So here zakah, I see it can be possibly but it can also be used again, cover cost of operation, cover and of course if you're saying 1%, this is very, very low cost of operation. I'm not sure, but then if you're thinking you have some of these loans are put into businesses, and if it is put in a business and you go with the opinion of zakah of 5 to 10%, then you can start maybe generating a bit more money to realistically cover that. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and cover zakah, cover your operational cost. Now, alternatively, can you just you identify a miskin and you have a miskin saving funds, or accounts. So here's your zakah, but there's a catch. I'm gonna put it in a saving account for you, and if you want to have that contractual agreement, and that in 5 years or something like that, then you're able to buy, we can extend a loan to you to buy your own place. Now, how, then what will happen exactly here? What will happen is that a miskin, let's say, still can barely afford a place to stay in, and he can afford rent, but he cannot afford to pay for rent as well as save, because this is one assumption that is not clearly stated in the analysis, that during when brother Ibrahim, you find that utility function, or like the income is being spread during that stage of 5 years. Let's say you're saving, you have to pay for the place you're staying in, assuming that you are in an apartment, for example, and that is equivalent to what you've kind of assumed, $6,000, for example, rent annual. So then what happens if you get the loan and you are now that previous rent you don't have to pay? So if you are well off, then now we have an extra $6,000 in income, so which we can use either to pay off the loan. So what happens in this model, you have, let's say you have half the amount of the waiting amount, half of it will be required to pay off the loan, because now you are freeing up some of your income that used to go to rent. In the case of the miskin, the same amount of what you used to pay for rent now is going to pay for the loan. You just simply need that initial funding halfway point, and then I can put that miskin in a house, and as soon as I put him in a house, he probably no longer in the category of miskins, because now you are freeing up an X amount of money that he can live in, and that will be a use of zakat to truly empower people and take them out of poverty in a very clear fashion. I can pay zakat to people and they come back again tomorrow for more. But if I actually solve a real problem in their cash flow and their ability to manage their expenses by putting them at by freeing them from rent, then that would be a huge contribution. So this is what I liked. Some of the many things I liked about this paper, that it's stimulating for creativity, and then I think it just intuitively, I think it is like a brother Ildus alluded, that this idea is in practice, and that's why I said, like, is there already an operation model? Type, and then let's learn from that operation model and try to see it implemented. Wallahu alam. Any other questions or comments? We're really over our time, so here, this is the time where you are free to either stay and and or go, or we can.
I would actually suggest to study the Jack Bank model, and there are a lot of papers, and I think it is really a really useful model and can be replicated. And we don't have to call it use any Arabic words or anything. It can be made to suit local conditions, whether it is in Arab Muslim countries or in some other, anywhere in the world. I think it is possible to replicate.
No, that's
Good
true.
idea. It's a good idea.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair.
Uh,
All right. Thank you. Any other point? I'm here again. Akhi Ibrahim, you are very much welcome to. I know it is late for you. You might have other commitment. I'm just here. If there's anybody who wants to discuss anything, I'm here. Just take care of other general business, actually, even as a matter of fact. Jazakumullah khair, everybody. Let me stop the recording here, and thank you again for everybody for this first, alhamdulillah, monthly discussion forum. Appreciate all the work you put, dear sister Lisa and sister Loni, for preparing us for this meeting, and inshallah it will be beginning of a great inshallah experience. بِعَوْنِهِ تَعَالَى. جزاكم الله خير.
شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very much. السلام عليكم.